cult members, and welcome to the Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And this is going to be our non-spoiler review of Season 2 of Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan.
Right.
Because you can't just have Jack Ryan be the title of the show. It's got to be Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan.
Well, in case you're confused about maybe it's, I don't know.
Dave Stewart's Dr. Jack Ryan.
Yes. I don't know. I was trying to think of another author, but Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson.
He does kind of the espionage.
He does. I think I guess I stumbled along onto a theme that we're going to talk about a lot. It's a Jack Ryan, Tom Clancy show,
right?
And we were just talking about this during dinner. We watched this last week.
Yes.
And we haven't had a chance to really sit down and I don't think really talk about it too much because we've watched a bazillion and a half things in the last 8 days. Welcome to the fall in the viewing household that is Pop Culture Cult.
Right.
But I want to start off by saying I really liked this season. I liked this season just as much as the first season, maybe a little bit more.
I liked it at least equally as much as last season. I think that we were noticing actually while we were watching it that it seemed like they might have spent a little more money on it.
Yeah.
There was, whether they actually shot on location in Venezuela. They definitely shot on location in London.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then helicopters and explosions
there's a really cool shot of John Krasinski actually on the helicopter, and you could see there's 3 helicopters in flight together, and you could see the other 2 helicopters in the background. That's not a shot you just fake. You have to over the jungle in Venezuela. You just can't fake that kind of shot. You have to go out there, and now it may not necessarily be Venezuela, but you have to have 3 helicopters, and you have to have the
you have to have 4 actually, because you've got to have one.
That's true. Yeah,
doing the shots with.
But they definitely spent a lot more money. They definitely traveled more this time.
Yeah,
they were in Russia. Most of the story takes place in Venezuela.
Yep.
They were in London, and then they were in like Langley and DC and stuff like that.
Right, but that was probably just a set.
Yeah. Some B-roll of what's right there in front of the Capitol, Pennsylvania Boulevard. Oh, yeah. We've never been to DC, so I'm just going to make up words because that's what I do. But I really...
All words are made up.
All words are made up. Thanks, Drax. But the idea that this story was ripped from the headlines. Straight ripped from the headlines. Now... a spoiler for season 1. If you're listening to the season 2 review, you've watched season 1. But that ends with Greer going to Moscow and trying to talk Jack into coming with him and working that beat. That's not the right word, but that's pretty much what it is. And
desk.
And but. They very quickly transition out of Russia and go straight to Venezuela.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they initially had thought about doing the Russian side, and then when they were writing all the scripts and the season 1 kind of got done, that was when a lot of the Russian interference with the election stuff was going on, and there was a lot of issues with all of that. I wonder if they decided, let's do something else, and that's when the Venezuela stuff was starting to kick off.
Yeah. Because the president in the show, the president of Venezuela, has the same first name as the actual president of Venezuela. And, I mean, the overall theme or storyline is that the president isn't going to give up his office. There's somebody else running against him. They're a democracy, sort of. And that's exactly what's happening or has been happening for the last year and a half.
Yeah. And it's a lot of what they're talking about in this show is about the the corruption that is going in around the prime minister, president, and how the public is just being lied to about everything, and it's all straight from the headlines, and so the realism of the show is part of why I really got sucked into the show.
Yeah.
I really like it's historical fiction, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, or current. It's not really history. Current affairs fiction.
Current fiction. Yeah, I don't know if there's a term for it yet. But all of that really brings me in to the show.
Yeah.
And then every once in a while, something happens, and they're like, "Oh yeah, remember? It's a Tom Clancy novel on TV."
Right.
So there's super shootouts and big explosions and 50 people are getting taken out by an explosion or a riot or whatever.
And there's multiple storylines going on at the same time too, and like in the middle, you're kind of like, how is all this gonna wrap up? Because these stories are so far removed that, but they bring it all together.
They did that in the first season too. I think it was in the third or fourth episode where we're like, I like what I like what's going on, but I don't see how this is all going to connect. And they instead of wrapping them all up in like the last few episodes, they kind of wrapped them up wrapped two together. And like the third episode, and then two others in the fourth episode, and then wrap those four together up into another episode, and it made it really intriguing to keep up with. You're always wondering, you're always questioning, you're always in it, and you're always we binged it. It's 8 episodes. Each episode's about 45 minutes to 50 minutes, and it's a really easy binge. We did it over 2 nights.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just like the first season. Everybody's amazing in it. I like all the characters. John Krasinski. My nose is tickling me, and I was really impressed with his dramatic acting in the first season. Now I haven't seen The Quiet Place, and so I don't have a reference there. But I was really impressed with his dramatic acting off of everything he did in The Office and stuff like that. And so he again was able to do that in this season, but he also gave it a humanity. He actually unlike the first season, he got emotional about stuff and
the first season he was emotional, but he was just pissed off because he was in this situation that he's an analyst and why am I out in the field and all this, then this time it wasn't necessarily pissed off. He was trying to do the right thing, and then a couple times he just went off and did the right thing even though he wasn't supposed to.
It's the right thing, and there's going to be consequences for the right thing, and I'm really interested. They did not leave it they didn't leave a cliffhanger like they did the first season. IMDb does say that there is a third season ordered. Considering how well the first season did for Amazon Prime, they instantly added a second season. Actually, they had added a second season before it even came out, and I haven't heard anything if it has been picked up for a third season. I hope so. And I hope they actually do the Russian window, like the Russian stuff.
I mean, I don't know. There's so many things to choose from.
There is, and they've already kind of done the domestic terrorism thing, so I'm wondering if they would swing back around for that. But I just like this spy drama kind of-ness. I never read a Tom Clancy novel, but I've always liked his adaptations that have been done in the video game form, and then the early ones with Harrison Ford, and then we got the one with Chris Pine. I really liked, and I've always liked the stuff that's based on his material. So I'm always looking forward to another season.
Yep, absolutely.
And we don't really score series, but would we rewatch it?
Yeah, maybe watch the whole thing from the first season and the
se-
second season, so because it's been a while,
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, they were in Russia, but I don't really remember how the last season ended. So,
And there's a couple of times in the first couple episodes where they reference things that happened in the first season. You're like,
Yep.
oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
So that is our review of Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan Season 2. And let us know if you guys have watched this series, if you have liked what's been going on with this. Do you want to see a Season 3? And let us know, do you really want to see John Krasinski as one of the Fantastic Four? Krasinski. Krasinski. It's a Fantastic Four. Let us know in the comments. Like this video. Help us out by subscribing. We have a Patreon that we're working towards. And we're also on all the social media stuff, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of jazz. And until next time, if we don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.